Welcome to Story Ideas on the Fly, where we choose a random idea from this hat and go with it. Today's idea: a man's evil twin is committing crimes and framing him.
Ooh.
Are we going with a literal evil twin or something like, I don't know, a clone of him?
Could go either way. You could
Does
go.
he know about the evil twin?
Well, if you're actual twins, usually.
Usually, but not always.
Yes, but
You could do this
let's
as you could do this as a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You could do this. I don't know. It said about anything because, like you said, you could do with the clones and
Mm-hmm.
make this a sci-fi. You could.
You're gonna have a sci-fi mystery.
True.
This feels more like the type of thing prompt that you'd have instead for a full story for like an episode in a TV show type thing.
You could do that, although you could also do it.
You could also
You could
just
have
it
more
be a
than
short
one.
story.
But you could also expand on it.
If you wanted to
It
get,
doesn't have to be the only thing going on in your story.
if you wanted to get kind of weird, you could use a alternate realities type of thing where the man is his own evil twin from
Mhm.
another reality.
Yeah.
That works.
And so you could get them together, and
Sounds
the
weird,
evil
though.
twin is going to try to what?
How's that weird though? That's just an alternate reality story.
Yeah,
Okay,
some
true.
of us find alternate realities a little weird.
That's
but-
because you're weird.
So
Siblings. All right. So what should we go with on this?
let's see.
So, well, if we go with alternate realities, that has the advantage if we could throw in a lot more conflict.
Yeah.
If we
Mhm.
go with clones, then that means that we could go with a lot more individuals that we're fighting against.
I like
Ooh.
evil twin though because there's more.
If
It's
we're
more
going with a
personal.
literal
I like-
twin,
The clone thing, though, does have an interesting idea here because we never said he is the only person having this happen to him. What
True.
if you are in a sci-fi and somebody who has the cloning technology is cloning people and using them to commit crimes and
Mhm.
then framing the people that they actually are the clones of, and that way they are not suspected for anything.
Mhm.
And it's also
Yes.
a way to get rid of the people they don't want, get rid of their opposition, framing them for
Mhm.
things.
good point. If you look hard enough, you can find the DNA of just about anyone.
Here's an odd
Mhm.
idea. What if your hero is a genius, like a prodigy, and his evil twin is cloning is a cloner, but also they're also in opposition to each other. So your main
Ooh.
villain is the evil twin, but also he can create clones.
So now we've got both of these tied together.
Yes.
That's good. Okay.
From another reality.
There we go. Now we got all three. I'm not quite sure how that one fits in,
I'm
but
not quite sure how alternate reality.
Because he managed to go to an alternate reality and kill himself in order to go grab the technology
think
from
we
that
may
other
not
reality.
add that. All right. So we
Don't try to incorporate too many ideas at once.
yeah. So we've got the man. I like
We'll
this.
start with this.
What's
So-
his purpose in doing this cloning and framing? Why would he frame his brother? Why would he? What's he going to do with these
Good
clones?
question.
Think.
Another
Yeah.
possibility, a more supernatural style that gives you some more explanation to work off of, is you could have an almost mirror clone.
Mm-hmm.
So like the whole concept of when you look in the mirror, you see a reflection of yourself, but if that reflection comes into our world, but he's exactly backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like instead of you having Batman versus Owlman, we're doing Superman versus Bizarro. That type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Those are so anyway. That's another possibility, and in that case, you could have him just flat out have the exact opposite personality of your hero,
Yeah.
which would
It's nice if your villain chooses to be villainous, though.
yeah.
Yes.
So what if they were actually together initially? They were friends, they were buddies, they did all these things, and then some tragedy struck, and the protagonist, the villain, said, "Oh, this was so horrible. We should we should go get revenge and kill everyone who involved and do all these bad things. And your hero said, no, we should try to, we should try to build up society so this bad thing doesn't happen again. We should, so they're the same, but they took different choices. Like that to me would be an interesting, I guess symbolically to kind of
The Naruto route.
because
Okay, yeah.
they're not because they didn't, because then it's not their circumstances who make them good and evil, it's their choices that
Yeah,
made them.
no, that's a good point. Yeah, I like that one.
You
Okay.
could go a lot of different ways with this. I mean, what if you had in some reality, in some existence, where people could actually kind of split their souls and get rid of the bad part of them?
Oh, Dr.
And
Jekyll,
then
Mr. Hyde style.
and then you
More
get
or
these
less.
bad,
Like
and people
what
think
happened
this is
with
going to be such a great idea because we can
Mm.
get rid of all the bad. We just have to put that in another
Mhm.
being. It could be a clone. It could be,
That could be
and
interesting.
then they put it in the
Your
other
villain can
being,
do
but
that.
then
I made a
they've
world that had
created
that
pure
once.
evil. They've created pure evil,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm. That
So
would be
I had
interesting.
Properly
I had a world
disposed
once
of.
that I designed.
Mm-hmm.
On one of the main themes in that world was just hatred and things like that. So it was obviously not a sunshine and rainbows world, but there was one of the beacons of hope was this group of paladins, as they called themselves, who had just powerful light magic, and they were the only ones who could use light magic because most magic was gray, or there was also demons which had dark magic. But how they actually did it is they separated gray magic into the light and dark magic and literally split themselves in two, and then they would have to actually fight themselves. And so if their goodness wasn't strong enough to overcome their evil, then then they just flat out die, and then the other paladins who would watch the ritual would kill the evil clone if he won,
Interesting.
just to make sure there wasn't that
Yeah,
didn't
no,
spread.
you
that's
got
an
And actually, my main villain idea for that was literally one of the paladin's evil clones escapes.
what
you
if your
should write
villain?
that one.
Yeah, that does sound very
It does
interesting.
sound very interesting. You should write
I have a
that
lot
one.
more to that
What if
Okay,
your
at the end when we say who's going to write this one, it's him. It's him. He needs to.
There you go.
Okay.
But yeah, no, your villain could actually do that though. He could have a way to split good and evil, and so some of the people getting these evil twins could actually be doing it consensually. They could be doing it as volunteers because they think, oh, this is so wonderful. This will make me so good.
Although here's a question you have to answer. If you split someone's good and evil sides, what would actually happen?
Yeah, this
Well, in my
because-
world, one of the big interesting things about it was it not only it didn't just make you a beacon of pure goodness. I mean, it made it easier to be good, but the paladins actually had this interesting thing where anytime they started doing anything bad or started drawing on negative emotions or hatred, jealousy, or anything like that, it would actually weaken them. And if they fell into depression, they'd literally die.
Wow.
now here
Because they
is-
literally lack the half of their soul that would let them feel sadness, basically.
this is
Interesting.
something that would be an interesting thing to explore with this too, is kind
Yeah.
of the concept. It's like, okay, when I wrote the Stanton Curse, and that was one of my first books, and you really have to sit there and look at these emotions and what's being in it. They are cursed with things, emotions that they can't control. Let's
Powerful
just-
Emotions going out of control,
Right.
basically exploding.
Right.
Mhm.
And
Tiniest bit of fear, it's like you're paralyzed with fear.
Yeah.
they each have an emotion that they
Secretly
can't.
angry,
Yeah.
I
So,
want to murder someone.
Is
Anyway.
sometimes you look and
Yeah.
you say, we always look and we say, okay, well, anger is so evil. It's a bad emotion. But there are times where anger is a very good emotion.
There are times
Christ
when
got
it's
angry and
appropriate.
cleansed the temple.
There are times when it's appropriate.
Yeah, you should be angry if you
Yeah.
see somebody abusing a child, and
Yeah.
and that anger
Or
should
you
lead
should
to
feel
action.
sad when you lose someone.
Right.
If you didn't, then
Yeah,
I
something,
never
yeah.
loved them.
That's
something
right.
was wrong.
So here is an interesting thing if you want to go with the split soul idea is
Mhm.
what is left in the good and what is left in the bad.
This could be a very interesting story for
that's-
philosophical kind of explore a lot of feelings, a lot of emotions, a lot of good and evil choices. I think you have the opportunity to explore a lot of
Yes.
concepts.
So rather than an epic fantasy on this one, I would see it more. I love writing epic fantasy.
Well, the one I had was
they are
actually was an epic fantasy, but
Oh yeah, I could see
Yeah.
that. I could see that how
But
you're
you're still,
describing
but
it. But you
it,
could.
but
I'm
there's
just
still a
saying,
lot of room
you
for
could also
the
go.
introspection and the
Mhm.
battling yourself and learning about and giving messages about hope and goodness and badness and
You
know,
could
all
go a
the
lot
good
of
This
ways.
makes this really
I
hard
would
to figure
probably
out,
write an
though.
epic fantasy.
What would
Or
the good side actually be? Evil, that's really clear. Evil is just lack of control.
well, lack of
Literally
control,
everything that
selfishness.
is pretty much every single thing I found that is considered evil is basically just taking something good and then taking it further.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and without
An
any
interesting
What
restraints.
is
thing you could
pride?
do.
Pride is actually a good thing in very small amounts. But the reason pride is so dangerous is because it's very easy to take it too much of it. Wrath,
An interesting
I
direction
mean,
you
we
could
need
take
it
this.
to
well,
survive. Yet it's bad if we do it
Sorry.
wrong. So if we have these sides that are just pure good,
I mean,
how do you
technically anything's
maintain
poisonous if you
that?
have a high enough dose.
Exactly.
There you go.
okay,
An interesting way you could take this is let people choose the sides of their souls that they think, or the sides of them, or
what they
or
want
maybe
to get
even
rid of.
pull it, to extremes. So you're, you're a fairly average looking person, but we can make your twin. If we make your twin extra ugly, you'll be extra, your clone extra ugly, then you can be extra pretty. Or if you are, if we make your clone extra impatient, then you can be very patient or whatever. And I don't know if you'd want to go that route or not, but it could be an interesting way to.
Yeah, my world
to
does not
divide
go
and
that
split.
route, just due to the
No,
very nature. But
that's
if
fine.
you could make a world specifically with that as the magic system, and that would be actually quite interesting because you would have people who would just bring themselves to an extreme in one specific thing, or maybe two.
Or
Okay,
many specific
wait.
things, but then they would be so extreme. It would be.
If I wrote this, it would not be an epic fantasy. I can see the epic fantasy would be good. I would write this. It'd be a dystopia.
Oh, almost certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would
That
write
one
this
makes a much
more
better
as a
dystopia.
post-apocalyptic. You know me, I love writing dystopias.
fantasy
No,
dystopia.
this wouldn't be
Dystopia.
post-apocalyptic. This
could
would
be.
probably be a fantasy dystopia.
You could do fantasy
could do either
dystopia.
way.
You could do both.
You could
Or
do
you
You know,
either
she
way.
defaults to post-apocalyptic when she does dystopias, though. You know.
Not always.
A lot of dystopias are post-apocalyptic.
Well, yeah.
But,
So
there are multiple ways you can take this.
So yeah. So you can go different ways with a dystopia.
Yeah, but I feel like this one would be default
fantasy
to a fantasy dystopia,
dystopia,
not
yeah.
a post-apocalypse.
You could go either way. I could
Because
see it either way.
post-apocalypse, this isn't. This is
Well,
like
or
splitting
you
your
can have-
soul, not.
Or you can do
Cloning you.
technology. You can use technology though.
Yes,
to
but
help,
you
and
could
it would make
also have
things
Yeah, but if
had
it
easier.
was technology, then that would
okay.
just be rewriting the circuitry
But,
of your brain,
yes.
and you wouldn't need to make a clone for that.
Well, I would
Maybe.
see as
Depends on how you do it.
I would see as because of the destructive wars and stuff, society is built back, but they want to make sure that they don't have such a thing happen again, and so
Mhm.
they're going to try to get rid of the evil parts of everyone so that they will never have to experience that kind of destruction again, and that would make it a post-apocalyptic. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
anyway,
Post-apocalyptic.
we could
fantasy.
Okay,
debate
An
about this all
interesting
day.
thought in there too is your all your evil clones. Would they get sent straight to prison without
They
even
probably, most of them would probably just immediately get executed.
executed or thrown? It would be interesting to
Or
see
thrown
though.
in basically a societal junk pile.
Yeah.
Or you could
But
also,
if your villain takes them, then maybe
Yeah.
he does some interesting things.
if your
with
villain
that
is
too.
one of the people doing this and actually saying, "Oh, don't worry, the evil's all being destroyed," and they're taking these people and he's actually keeping them someplace, so he's building his own army,
Mhm.
saying, "Look, these people would have killed you. I am saving you. You will follow me, and we're going to
Mhm.
rise up." And
That could
kind
be
of the
very
people
fun.
have to realize at the end, no,
Very interesting.
this doesn't
Mhm.
work. We have to find a way
Actually,
to
here's
undo
another
this.
question.
So does
about
that mean the main character for
cloning.
that particular story is the evil clone?
I still kind of like the idea of the twins, and this is how the villain got the idea of having two different, doing the cloning technology and splitting people into their good and bad is because he had
If
a
it's
twin.
cloning technology, though, then why would you need to clone the other person, though? I still don't understand why you need to clone
I
someone.
wouldn't necessarily think you have to clone the person. I think you would just have to have some
Mhm.
kind of body, some kind of form.
Yeah.
It could even be robotic, if
Fair
you want to go
enough.
that route, that they're putting this part of the
Mhm.
people into. Something to put them into. It does not have to be
Yeah.
a clone of the exact clone of the
So
person.
then, would
So
there
it's
be
magic.
anything that would stop you from doing this 4 billion times with the same person? Other than just that
Well-
would take a ridiculous amount of time.
And you would only have so much soul to give.
Okay, so this is magic.
Well,
I
depending.
could see it as both. I kind of
depending on
see it
what
as
the-
a blend of both. That's
All right,
me.
we can discuss the exact
I
details
picture
of the
sci
magic
fantasy.
system.
I
Yeah,
think
I'd
it's
make it
sci
fantasy, but you could make it sci-fi.
Or it's
Anyway,
kind
I think we have a good start for a few story ideas
Okay.
here.
I
Couple
could
of different
see some
directions
of
to
this
take
going
this.
very dark. I could see this going very epic. I could see a lot of things.
Mine's very dark. Yes, I think.
Yeah, I could see mostly very dark.
You're
But
splitting souls. Obviously, it's going to be dark.
yes,
Yes.
comic relief in this one. We can get a love story. Comic relief. Who's your comic relief
Comic
character
Do
in
you
this?
need one?
Yes.
You
because-
always need comic
Yeah,
relief in a
'cause you-
dark story.
Yeah, you
Or
always need
some-
comic relief, but you don't need a comic relief character.
Well, no,
Fair
but
enough,
I'm just
but
saying,
you need
how do
something
you
funny
get
about the situation, or somebody who's going to add humor, or see the humor, or something that's going to make this
My
funny.
story has a hippie in it.
I never say I don't ever say let's just add a character for comic relief.
Mhm.
That doesn't tend
Yeah.
to work. But you do have to have something in there that's going to give you that element of humor, whether in a lot of times that's the play off the characters, where you
Yeah.
get this guy and then you get some Lancer to them just comes up
It's
with
just
all
funny.
the funny
Oh,
things.
if you want to have something like a later Lancer kind of duality thing, just have it so that someone who has decided to be a good clone and someone who has decided to be a bad clone and on this adventure together.
That
you
could
go.
be fun. All
Yeah,
right.
the glad
have
clone is
there's
the
our
one who
comedy.
is for
You
the
have
is
some
who's
bad
doing
clones
all
that
the
escaped
combat
and
and
are
stuff
now-
like that because he still is very violent, and the other one is doing all the negotiations because he was given all the people skills.
There you go.
All of
If
them.
you had some escaped bad clones trying to
Yeah.
be good so they fit in, that
Yeah.
could be very funny.
Well, and they could choose to become good, because if you're doing this as, you can pick and choose which qualities you want, you can end up with someone who is maybe disposed to evil, but
He still has choices.
they still have choices, and so they go, hey, wait, we don't want to do this. This will end up this won't end well for us. So you could have some very interesting and unusual people in this.
Okay,
Mhm.
well, I think that was lots of different ideas. We'd love to hear your ideas. Put them in the
Yes.
comments. And don't forget to give us ideas for our hat. We'll see you next time.